Usually when people are too nice or take too much of an interest in you, there's a problem there. Friends, Bryan here, and it is frigid cold. You guys like it when I'm out in the cold for some reason. So I'm out in the cold. So when we talk about being over 50, and I'm guilty of this too, all the negative things that come with it, the negative connotations. Oh, I'm older, things are more difficult. Physically, oh, my regrets. I'm the king of that. But one of the beautiful things we get being over 50 is wisdom. And I think back to even 10 years ago, when I was 40, in my early 40s, I was still an incredibly naive guy. I made a video last week talking about 10 things that I'd like to be able to tell my younger self. And one of them was, I'd be more observant of people who are displaying odd behavior. One of my public subscribers, Wakame 44, he said, can you expand on that a little bit? So let's get a little bit of a... See, I waved to people, they went by. They're like, he has a camera. Oh my God, what's going on? But yes, it's early. I've been up since 3, kicked my own ass at the gym. Anyway, he asked me to expand on that. I just don't want to fall in the water. That would be a good video, wouldn't it? This old over 50 person falling in the water. So being observant of people and their behavior. I hate drama. I really do. It is exhausting. It's just stressful. It's just the most annoying thing. And when there's smoke, there's fire. I have a small business, so I have to have a Facebook account to have a Facebook page for my small business, but I'm even trying to figure out how to get out of that. But I don't have friends on my Facebook. But when I used to have friends on my Facebook, there would be certain people that would be always airing out their dirty laundry on Facebook, and they'd be fighting all the time, and they were always dramatic, blowing things up, and there was always an issue and always something going on. I didn't like reading that. And also I noticed whenever people like that were in my life, they tried to pass the drama on to me. I didn't like that. That would be an example of a behavior to watch out for. People who just aren't happy for you. I'm no stranger to the gym, but I've also spent time away from the gym as an adult. But I remember when I was a teenager, I was really into working out. And I had a few friends that didn't like that. And they had to point out that they had a problem with that and point out all the things with working out and all this other stuff. You know, I've known people like that in my life. When you try to self-improve yourself, you know, maybe whether it's going to the gym or taking a night course or trying to get an education in this, some people will have a problem with it. You know, might do passive aggressive things or make little comments, snide comments at you. You know, if you can't be happy for someone who's trying to self-improve themselves, then you've got a problem. You don't want those people in your life. If you're dating, okay? I've talked about this in other videos, and I'm trying to be mindful, not to put everyone in a box or whatever, but some people have problems, different types of problems. If you're dating, and on the second date, the woman's saying how much she loves you and how much she thinks of you and how great of a guy you are, that's a little weird. Come on, guys. That's like the second date. There might be something more going on there. Complainers. I knew a guy 10 years ago. He was a friend for a while, and he was a complainer. In fact, I never met anyone like this before, ever. He was the only person I've ever met in my life where you go out of your way to help him. Maybe if we were out somewhere, it seemed to always be on me to buy lunch or pay for dinner. Or, you know, I helped him out. I remember one time he came to me, he needed money to get his vehicle fixed. I lent him the money, and he complained. Like anything, you would try and help him, and all he did was complain. And I got to the point with this guy that it was so negative all the time that when I knew I'd have to run into him or be around him, I started to get stressed out or be in a really bad mood. And I was like, there's a reason for this. It's because of this guy. He was what you would call a toxic person, and he had a problem with everybody and everything. And when I cut him out of my life, life was better. On the topic of toxic people, okay, I wouldn't be the type of person to do this, but if I was to make really insulting jokes at you, and you're like calling me out saying, hey, like that was not, why are you doing that? That's not, and I turn around and say, well, it's your fault because you don't get my humor, or it's your fault. People that can't say they're sorry or take responsibility for things, usually there's a problem there. People like that I've learned to avoid if they have no sense of self-awareness. Like maybe you're out and their behavior. They don't realize how their behavior is affecting everybody, or how everybody is looking at them, or they can never say, I'm sorry, or it's my fault. People like that who always have to point the finger, it's always someone else's fault. It's always someone else's fault for the problems in life. Usually when people are too nice or take too much of an interest in you, there's a problem there. It's a very painful story, and it's a long story. I'm not going to get into it too much, but this is just to stay on track with the topic. When people show too much interest in you, usually it's for a reason. They want something. So 10 years ago, I made one of the biggest mistakes in my life. I had been overweight. I was out of shape for some time. So I decided, I got to get back into it. And I started going to this crappy little mom and pop gym in the town I lived in, owned by a couple. And the treadmills were right by the front desk. So I do my workout and I do my cardio at the end. And the owner, he started coming over and talking to me. Normally at a gym, proper etiquette of the owner and management, let people do their workouts. Don't be bugging them and talking to them. But he'd come over and talk to me when I was on the treadmill. In retrospect, I figured out what he was doing. But what he was trying to do is sniff around to see if I had any money. And he started painting this picture of like how they were victims and all these contractors were taking advantage of them, and they would be paying these contractors and the contractors wouldn't do the work, whatever. And it was kind of that, why don't you get on board kind of thing. And Bryan, the sucker that he was, got involved financially with this business. I didn't get a lawyer to look over things first, nothing. Biggest mistake of my life. Not long after I got involved, agreements were being broken. Friends, that's another big red flag with people right there. People that don't keep agreements, no matter how big or how small they are. If I have any interaction with somebody and there's an agreement and it's not kept, we're done. Because if you tolerate them, it's just going to be more and more problems. Trust me on that. And all of a sudden I had people coming up to me saying, hey, you know that there's 4 liens on this building, eh? They don't pay their bills. They're not paying the mortgage. And I'm like, oh shit. And once I knew that I was being screwed, it just got worse. And before I knew it, I was involved in some BS lawsuits, what I like to refer to as extortion, people just trying to get money out of you. My lawyer looked into them and he said, Bryan, just on mortgage debt alone, they're in debt over $1 million. We're not even getting into their bank debt, their credit debt. He said, we got to find our way out of this because this is just going to suck money out of you with legal fees. They're the classic example of people with problems trying to make their problems your problems and to pull you down with them. And I had a lot of contractors coming out of the woodwork showing me actual proof that they would screw them over, get the contractor to come in, do work, and then just say, oh, we can't pay you. So I had a lot of contractors when I was in litigation saying, hey, can we join the lawsuit? It cost me tens of thousands of dollars in damages. They did a lot to try and damage my reputation in the town I lived in. And it was one of those things, like, it's so awful when you go out of your way to try and help people and they turn around and do that to you. I remember it really affected me going, man, what is wrong? Like, and then in the end, I had to say, you're the dumbass that got involved, dude. And for the people that believe they're BS, it's like, hey, give it time. They'll figure it out. Sit back and observe people. When we go out, as soon as you leave your home, there's going to be social interaction probably of some sort. It's how you navigate it. I'm not the naive guy I used to be, just thinking, oh, well, this is always looking out for the best in people. Now I always hold people with suspicion. I really try to keep to myself. But you observe, watch people's behavior. I eventually moved on to another gym, and even there, I started to notice things. There's a lot of weird things that go on in gyms, folks. I'm always encouraging all of you to put effort into your health, but be wary. At gyms, sometimes you'll see the best of people and the worst of people. Even now, you don't even have to leave your house, and there's frauds and scams going on all the time. People trying to message you on social media. Another reason I'm not big on social media, except for YouTube. You hear all these frauds and scams all the time. Friends, predators come in all shapes and sizes, but wisdom, we're older. We can use our wisdom, go, yeah, no, not this guy, and shut it down right away. I hope that helps, folks. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you ever done that? Have you ever, looked back and said, man, I wish I paid more attention to that person's behavior and cut them out quicker? Let me know in comments. This is Bryan signing off.